In this presentation, I'll be talking about the effects of exercising in the cold. Humans are homeothermic and need to regulate their body temperature. This is known as thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is the ability of an organism to keep its body temperature within certain boundaries, even when the surrounding temperature is very different. This process is one aspect of homeostasis, a dynamic state of stability between an animal's internal environment and its external environment. For humans, the ideal core temperature is 37 degrees C, but can vary within a couple of degrees either side. At the optimal temperature, enzymes in the body operate at their best. It can become dangerous if the core temperature drops too low, slowing down metabolism, or too high, creating enzymes to denature. Either side of the scale can become life-threatening. Homeostasis works through the negative feedback mechanism. When the skin or core body temperature starts to drop or increase due to things such as the environment, the hypothalamus helps to regulate the body's temperature. It contains receptor cells so it can respond to the temperature change. There is an anterior hypothalamus that cools the body down and a posterior hypothalamus that heats the body up. In this picture, the posterior hypothalamus receives impulses indicating the temperature is too cold. The sympathetic nervous system is activated, sending signals down the nerves to the skin, causing vasoconstriction and shivering, increasing core temperature. As seen in the previous slide, the hypothalamus sends signals around the body to reduce heat loss and increase heat production. Vasoconstriction occurs when there is reduced blood flow from the core to the skin surface. The blood is kept deeper in the body and the blood vessels are narrower. This especially occurs in the extremities. It also creates a layer of insulating fat between the core and the skin surface, resulting in the body conserving heat. Hair muscles contract, causing goosebumps that trap air in the hairs, which also acts as an insulator, resulting in heat loss reduction. This is involuntary. The body reduces sweating, so less evaporation is happening, therefore less cooling, keeping the heat in the body. Shivering is also a reaction that occurs when the body temperature drops to produce heat. This is an involuntary muscle contraction and relaxation that produces a significant amount of heat, roughly 5 times the amount of heat at rest. A voluntary response to heat production is caused by muscular activity through exercise. 70 to 80% of energy expenditure during exercise appears as heat, increasing core temperature. The total amount of heat produced depends on the intensity and time of the exercise, which increases heat production when it's cold. Core body temperature can be measured in a number of different ways, however, depending on how can affect the accuracy. To get the best accuracy, invasive ways are used. Rectal is when a thermometer is placed up the rectum and the core temperature is recorded. Esophageal is when a thermometer is placed down the esophagus to record a core temperature. Although these invasive methods are the most accurate, they are not very practical for routinely measuring core temperature, and is often used in laboratories or in a research setting. Non-invasive methods of measuring temperature are more widely used. Skin temperature is often used to measure temperature, however is considerably cooler than core temperature and more variable, as the temperature can be greatly influenced by the environment, making core temperature an estimate. Another common method is using thermometers placed in the mouth or ear. However, this can be affected by many factors such as breathing rate and fluid ingestion. Although these methods are most commonly used day to day, they do not give the most accurate reading of temperature. Therefore, invasive methods are best. There are many factors that affect heat loss during exercise when in the cold. One main factor is the environment. If a person is participating in a winter sport activity, it would be likely they are in the snow or on ice, which will affect their body temperature. Other sports that are played all year round and in winter, such as football or rugby, can also affect body temperature if outside for prolonged periods of time. The wind chill can significantly affect body temperature, having a colder effect on the skin than a much lower temperature of still air, resulting in a much colder body temperature. When exercising in water such as swimming or diving, it is important to wear the correct clothing, such as a wetsuit, or if you need to. Wilkinson found water conducts heat away from the body approximately 25 times faster than in air at the same temperature. This is why it feels so much colder in water than in air, affecting core body temperature, especially over prolonged periods of time. However, this does vary from person to person and the environment they are in. Body composition and size can have an effect on heat loss during exercising in the cold. Fat acts as an insulator, so the more fat an individual has, the better at conserving heat they are. In addition, Clark found that the smaller body to surface ratio means losing heat at a faster rate, indicating the smaller the person, the more likely they will become colder quicker, decreasing core temperature. Age also has an effect on heat loss. As the older the individual, the lower the metabolic rate, causing faster heat loss. Finally, the clothes the individual wears can have an effect on heat loss. When exercising in the cold, an individual should wear clothes that are appropriate and insulate the body. This can be achieved by wearing lots of thin layers that trap the air and can be removed or added depending on exercise taking place. Hoods should also be worn to reduce heat loss from the head, but can be adjusted according to exercise intensity, as well as waterproofs to prevent getting wet. If raining or snowing, as discussed earlier, this can increase heat loss significantly. There are many dangers that could occur from allowing the core temperature to drop too low. Hypothermia starts to occur when heat loss is greater than heat production, causing the core body temperature to drop below 35 degrees C. When the core temperature drops past this point, the participant may start to lose interest in the activity, becoming uncoordinated and violently shaken. Shivering. As the core temperature continues to drop, the player may get a desire to fall asleep, becoming fatigued, as well as having difficulty with memory and decision making. To prevent and treat hypothermia, it is vital that the player has any wet clothes to take it off and put dry, warm layers on. It is important to warm the individual slowly and from the inside, not with external heat such as radiators, but with sipping a warm drink. Frostbite is another danger of allowing the core temperature to decrease to too low. It is the freezing of tissues, most commonly the skin, but can be deeper tissue. If the core temperature drops too low, usually frostbite can be seen in fingers, toes, nose and ears. When the core temperature drops, the blood gets taken away from the skin, vasoconstriction, and more blood gets shunted to the body's core, where the main organs are, resulting in the extremities not getting as much blood, often going numb. When the core temperature drops further, this is when the tissue starts to freeze, now causing extremities to become waxy white, tender, and in lots of pain. This also affects aerobic endurance, as less oxygenated blood is not getting to work in muscles, as it is prioritizing the body's core, meaning the individual cannot exercise for as long. When the body is at its optimal temperature, the biomechanical reactions in the body are their most efficient, meaning the enzymes in the muscles are working at their optimum rate. However, when temperature drops, all functions become slower and less efficient, meaning the enzyme activity in the muscle is a lot slower, resulting in the muscle becoming stiffer and uncoordinated. As the temperature continues to drop, the muscle becomes weaker and fatigue occurs. As seen in the previous slide, body size and age can affect how quickly an individual can lose heat, meaning there needs to be extra care when children or older people are exercising in the cold, as they are more likely to experience these dangers, as they lose heat at a lot faster rate and may not be aware that it is happening. When there is a prolonged exposure to exercising in the cold, there are some physical adaptations that occur over time. This makes the individual more comfortable and have a greater cold tolerance by increasing heat production while maintaining core temperature. These adaptations include increasing the metabolic heat production through exaggerated shivering response or through non-shivering mechanisms where there is an increase in non-shivering thermogens, creating more heat. Another adaptation is an enhanced sympathetic response, which increases a more rapid vasoconstriction response to keep core body temperature from dropping too low, quickly reducing heat loss. This also means having higher intermittent blood flow to hands and feet, resulting in maintaining core temperature. With these adaptations, individuals will become more comfortable exercising in the cold. Finally, to conclude, we have looked at the following: how the body regulates temperature in the cold, how the body responds by increasing heat production and decreasing heat loss, how temperature is measured, factors affecting heat loss, and dangers and positives of exercising in the cold. Here are some recap questions to think about in your own time.